Hey, how's it going? Here, look at some signs. Just real quick. Thank you. Calm down. Oh, wrong deck. So I pulled, my God, my voice got all quavery there. I don't know what just happened. I believe I only pulled 2 today. All right, Dennis Rodman, no flopping, please. Oh, shoot. And I forgot something. I'll be right back. Hi. I wanted to grab the guidebook, but, so, I pulled, from this here, Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, number 8, and it's Crown Games. So, just my impression right now is as you can see, or maybe it will take you a moment to make out exactly what's happening there, but there's a royalty figure. I believe it looks feminine, so I'm going to go with Queen, that was seated in the throne, and somehow her head and crown came away from the neck, and she's got them, I would say they're sitting in her lap, but it's, as always, it looks like the hands are positioned in such a way on top of the head of this face, this head, as if to hold it down, which is funny because why not just hold it by the crown? Because you gotta hold that down too. And I just noticed this. I don't even know if it means a dang thing, but she's holding it like this. Like, it's not like this. So she's not even like holding it down. She's just sort of holding it. I'm mind blown. I have to give that a look. Yeah, her fingers are not even properly laced. And look at the side eye that face is giving. I never noticed that before. Well, what the heck's going on over there? Let me look some more. Wow. I just got casually keeping my thoughts to myself, but I think it's an illusion because there's nothing casual about what's happening there. It's obviously a metaphor for like a big old head full of, wow, full of thoughts. And if it's a royalty figure, having grown up in America, I don't really have much of a basis of comparison for what a royalty figure does in relation to their subjects. But historically, I know there's been some bad royalty and there's been some not as bad royalty. It's an evolution thing. Many of them are much like secular, or I guess that's a religious, non-religious thing, but whatever, you know what I mean? It's not, they're not like royalty, they're like they self-proclaimed. And then there are some that are like the families went back god-awful number of years. God-awful? That's not right, but a lot of years. And there's a lot of things, a lot of tropes about royalty, and it's the incest thing, I'll just say it, because the blue bloods want to be together. They don't want to blend. They don't want to like screw up the bloodline. Whatever. It has meaning. It's deep. It's cosmic. it's ancient, but I'm not going to go into it. Like, if you want to know, and you're, I don't know, if you got like a woo-woo state of mind too on it, just look it up. It'll, like, whatever information you need is going to come to you about it. But that is what they say about royalty, is that they just have been, and you know, like, let's go with European royalty. Well, Europe really is not that big. I mean, even as a whole, each country is pretty small. That's why, what I mean by it's not that big. You get a Russia, and then that's giant, but I'm not talking about that area of Europe. I'm talking about Western Europe, I guess, and the not former Soviet state Europe. And so those countries for centuries have been sort of playing, you know, like trading offspring and breeding with each other for a long time. So I think there have been like a little bit introduction of like some peasants and some, you know, like Americans or whatever to kind of freshen the DNA. But apparently, I mean, I'm saying apparently like I don't know this, but I did see a lot of actually videos about it, because once you watch one, they send you a million on YouTube of the same topic. But I did watch a few because I'm just sort of interested in genetics a little bit, and what you can see in modern royalty is sort of evidence of the incest, sort of like mouth and jaw features that people today still have that are either directly or distantly related to royalty, or or they have an incestuous family. But I'm talking about people we know are royals. So I don't know, I'm getting way off the track of what I was gonna say, I think, but point is, not everyone can be one. And I guess thinking of the type of person that is a royal, it's just weird that they are like the rulers of all the rest of the people that kind of do all the work and are not waited upon and do get looked in the eye. And I'm just talking about, they do like the opposite of all of that British royal protocol. They just live their lives. And so, I don't know, it's just kind of, I know that there's a lot that these people have to do as far as like statesmanship, and I don't know, I'm not from that country. I don't know what they do. I don't know what their hours contain in the day. I know there's a lot of leisure looking stuff, but I have a feeling that a lot of business goes on in these leisure things, and even though they don't directly run the country like the government, it's not like they're not all up in it. So there's younger royals coming in, and word on the psychic hotline is that King Charles is not going to be king forever. He's well, that's enough said, but a younger one will come in, and they may look askance at goings on in the past under the royal helm. And I'm thinking maybe that's what the side eye was about, because another thing I got right away was, wow, we got a lot to handle here, and it's not been handled well. And that would be Prince William, which is interesting because he's not Prince Harry. But what's interesting about the two of them, speaking of Americans freshening up the bloodline, Diana Spencer's family, I believe her grandmother was an American that married into the Dutch ducal family line, I think. Something like that. Someone with a title. And obviously not like a little someone, because, you know, Prince Charles chose her to be his figurehead wife. I mean, poor thing, I guess she was, like, I don't know, in love with him. I don't know what that relationship was. I don't want to stick my nose in it. I'm just saying that those kids, Harry and William, they didn't grow up in America. They don't have like American values or whatever, unless if they watched on television. I think they are very, as royalty, they live very secluded lives and they're very isolated. Hey, I have to put you on pause. So their sensibilities, anyway, might very well be different, because even though it was a while ago, that influence of the American is in there. And then, like, whatever genetic stuff, like, I think a lot of stuff happens from, like, our DNA and that, and we don't really recognize that that's where it's coming from, or making it happen, or why we can't figure out where it's coming from, and it's inaccessible because we're not scientists. But I think a lot more comes out of that area that affects our behavior, because it's our genes. Of course it's going to affect us. And I think that's going to make like a difference in their attitude and behavior, even though they have the full-on upbringing. And look at how Harry split off, because he just, like, something appealed to him about an American again. But, like, you know, royalty has married, like, British royalty has married Germans and Italians and Spaniards. I'm gonna have a sip of water and contemplate that. Why won't you eat the fish? Oh, you ate the fish. Good boy. I knew he liked salmon. I forgot that. Oh, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I got him canned cat food that he eats all the time, but sometimes he gets sick of it and won't eat anything, but he's still coming up going, where's the food? Where's the food? Where's the food? I'm going, dude, I ain't made out of money. Let me figure something out. So figured out some fish in the envelope from the grocery store, but I forgot that you have to rinse it, because I guess it's salty, or I don't know what, but it smells better after you rinse it. That's for dang sure. And he wouldn't eat it until I rinsed it. So there's a tip for you if you have a finicky cat. It's like a quick fix, because I can give it to him for a few days and it's so rich. I think he's like, let me have the other stuff. Anyway, that is you did not ask for that, but you're welcome. And okay, so I started to say, like, what I thought immediately when I first picked this thing up was, we can't all be royalty. We can't all be royals. And I know that that's a Lorde song, and I'm laughing because I didn't know she wasn't talking about the royal family until very recently. And I don't think I'm going to explain that. If you don't already know what that means, I'm just going to leave a little Easter egg for you to go figure out if you care about that kind of thing. And so, just put that to the side. Oh, wait, I was going to read the guidebook. Oh, I wasn't done talking about it. So, we can't all be royals, but I think what I meant by that, or what that meant to me, was that the heads of all the countries, the heads, their populations are doing things that they may or may not be totally into them doing. Like France, I think that France is going to yield to the people because they were like, gadzooks, hell no. We like our system the way it is. Do not screw it up. And they are not messing around. And then there's other places that have stuff going on. There's like all kinds of countries that just have political turmoil and takeovers and coups and stuff like that, and stuff gets fixed and gets better too, but we don't hear about it because we only care about ourselves and our interests here in America, North America, USA, to be clear and fair, because we aren't the only Americans on the continent. So side-eye, what the heck is everybody else gonna do? Like, this is new, this is confusing, this is weird and unstable, and we all have to put our heads together and think about this. Ha ha! Good one, Spirit. Okay, and so I also pulled a card from the Animal Spirit deck, which is... Oh, I said it. I need to show you the book. Is Cobra. And, two things happened when I looked at this today. Don't want to spill that. Wait, don't I have a coffee somewhere? Oh, at least it's not somewhere I can knock it down with my elbow. Two things. I got a real, like, Egypt hit or something. Well, not or something. It was an Egypt hit. I don't know why. Are cobras in Egypt? I thought that was like an India thing. I guess the climate is similar. Although, I have no clue what either one really looks like anywhere that's not been shown on some travel show. I don't know what the climate's like. I don't know if they got the same thing like an American city where there's not really, like, it's concrete, it's buildings. There's not like whatever kind of not building outside forest jungle land these live in. It's confusing because I should know better than this, but I've never really had to, like, contend with a cobra, so I have not had much reason to go delving into what they're all about, but they're not native to my area, so they're not a concern. God, excuse me, I just don't want to knock stuff over. So, but yeah, Egypt, for some reason, I got, like, I don't know, just Egypt. And then the other thing was, like Egypt, and like the crocodile, which is also in Egypt. Jeez, are we talking bleed through from yesterday? Yesterday I pulled crocodile. So, okay, ancient Egyptian animals. Okay, I'm gonna have to go to the book with this because I'm not sure what all of that means. I know that, God, look at the background. It's so Egypt. Have you ever seen those photos of the pyramid at sundown, and the colors will look just like that, except where the cobra is the thing that's above the cobra's head, which is a pyramid. I guess that's pretty Egypt too. Whoa. Let's see what the book says. The cobra. Pausing, waiting, the inner teacher. The cobra represents a teacher or spiritual guardian. The cobra hovers and watches, ever present, ever protecting, ever loving. The essence of the cobra is found deep within us in the form of inner teacher and manifests externally in those special guides who led us along our path. What would it feel like to be the student again? What are you ready to learn? A lot, personally. Remember the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I think that, I mean, I've certainly hit points in my life, along those peaks and plateaus where I've been able to contribute something to help someone, like with some kind of knowledge, to help someone that just needed to hear the thing I had to say. Like, they needed an answer, I happened to have it. Or it happens a lot, like over and over. It doesn't necessarily have to always be that particular scenario, but I mean, I help people, give to people all the time. So there, I'm so cool. Okay, But yeah, I mean, definitely. Haven't you ever had the experience when you're the student, but you're talking to the person, and I don't mean the formal student teacher situation, but just like someone you know has some information that you don't, and you can talk to them about it, and they can inform you, and you know how conversations go, right? So, um, but haven't you had it where you're talking to someone and you say, oh, well, this and this and this thing, and the person's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea about that, and maybe you launch into this whole conversation and it opens up all kinds of areas where each other didn't know a thing, and you fill in those gaps, and I think that's fulfilling and fun and a nice thing to do. And why am I talking about that? I don't know. Oh, the student and the teacher. Wow, I am like a airhead and hair, and yes, I'm definitely a hairhead and airhead. Oh my God, enunciate, bitch. Let me get on with this. There's still something to read here. When in balance, a student of life, humble, wise. When out of balance, know-it-all, egocentric. To bring into balance, taking a class, study. Well, if this is the image of, well, like I said, I guess it's, or like the book says, I guess it's both things, goes both ways with the student and the teacher, although I wonder if it isn't like if you just break it down into one metaphor, say you and your knowledge, or your teacher, or maybe your teacher and your knowledge are one thing, and they're the cobra, and you are the student, and you're facing this being that you know to be like potentially fatally dangerous, although the same could be said for you, but that is not the plateau that you're on in this scenario. You are face to face with this powerful being, and you both can respect each other's capacity to hurt the other. And so maybe you just have a stare down and silently are exchanging information. And you know, maybe each one has a fear of the other a little bit, and so to stand there and face them down, I mean, that's an education in itself. And then also, I'm just going to say this happens in my scenario here, but once the staring goes on for a long time, and beings are realizing there's not going to be that kind of confrontation, emotions can settle, and then more information can come in and be exchanged, either through the staring contest or actual verbal communication. Or, I mean, I was just having the image like, well, how am I going to tell the snake? Like, what am I going to do? Tap out a rhythm with a stick? But then I remembered Egypt. Oh my God. What about all of those animal people in Egypt? Maybe this is just a representation of one of those Egyptian beings that were, well, you know, it's so confusing, because were they gods? I don't think they were gods. I don't think that's why they came here, because I think they were aliens, or I believe they were aliens. I feel like they were aliens or extraterrestrials that came here, that still come here, and will continue to come here until we humans like get on the love track and off of the hating and canceling, and get like the canceling, I think, is dumb. Like, so people stop talking to you because of something you said. Oh, wow, wow. Welcome to life. But that's not even like a real thing. That's a baby thing. There's much more going on in our adult, so-called adult lives that we are neglecting and we're just doing badly, and the reasons that we're doing them are so bad. And I feel like there's a lot of like interviewing going on and reporting on stuff, and I feel like all of it is more about like sort of what's wrong with the person they're talking to after a while. But that's like their thing. Let people have their thing. You don't have to like it. You don't have to understand it. And vice versa. Just because you don't like it and don't understand it or don't want to understand it doesn't mean it has to die. just making a small quick point on that. Getting your point across does not require the death of someone else. No, not any kind of elimination. Like they don't have to go anywhere, because if you stop freaking out, they're gonna go home and so are you. And I bet you all don't live in the same house in the same neighborhood. So what are you worried about? Like, people get so worked up over nothing, and that's like, thank you for that propaganda. And we don't need. I look at people and it's like they're saying they're patriots and they hate this country from what they're saying, and they for some reason love Russia where they've never lived, and from the way they're talking they don't know anything about what it's like there either, or history or anything. But these are people that history has not been snatched away from. These are people that had the history right in front of them. They just are not paying attention to it. That's on them. So ooh, final thought on the Crown Games. Instead of letting all these leaders that are not doing such a great job at leading, it is maybe time for the crown to be off the head. I took away the card, but the crown off the head of that particular leader paradigm, and the new guard has to come in, like the young royalty I was talking about, and all of the people in the country that are not the leaders that are doing all the work, and that all of the leaders are kind of cashing in on. The crown has to come off those heads and go collectively. Like, I'm going to leave it in there because it's the metaphor, but I'm not into the whole monarchy thing or crowns or any of that, but I'll leave it in because it's the metaphor. Everybody gets a piece of crown. Everybody gets a little crown. Everybody is royalty. And that's comedy, and that's not comedy, committee, and that's fairness. And that is what we're missing in the other thing. The arguing and the propaganda propelled heightened emotions, and the speech just getting more and more reckless and insulting and unnecessarily so, and getting upset because things are different. Things have always been different. People have always been different. What's a big deal? But people get whipped up by the programming that they're consuming, and it's not just one side. It's all of the sides, which I hate the side stuff, but I guess it's a thing. But yes. And I think it's got to be younger people that have got to come in and go, look, this, you guys have been doing the same thing for so long and you still don't see this don't work. Here, go sit down, retire, let us fix stuff. Let us take that out of your hands so you can go relax. Whatever it takes. And by what I just said, I mean, let some new people be elected and come in there and clean house, basically. Nothing wrong with wisdom that has been gained from someone older in politics, but lifetime appointments in the same office, that's just not unfair. And also you get stuck in a rut where you're not like in sync with society. Like, you're sheltered and you're living a what is the word? You're isolated, and you're inaccessible to everyone else, and so you really easily, even if it was your life when you began, even if you were Cinderella when you began, some people get money and forget. I just thought of a person, but I guess I'll keep that name to myself. They start out humbly and they make it like a great life for themselves, or what is considered great in our capitalist society. I don't necessarily think that like all of the stuff that's capitalist that has become like the rules of our life is great. But they lose sight of like who they are because they have so many people, jumping to do things for them instantly, and you're gonna have a lot of yes people not telling you when you're wrong or not calling you on stuff. And it's up to the person with all the yes people to be able to like pull their head out of their back pocket, but not a lot of people, not everyone does that. So but I think that going forward, that is something that has to happen. Like the houses of legislation, definitely. I'm thinking of Washington, but I mean, every state has a capital. The same thing could be said for just about every one of those places, I'm pretty sure. All of them could use an infusion of youth, So, that is what I have to say. There go those stupid sing-songs again. Thank you and good night. What am I talking about?